great guy. Yeah, I'm Leo, this is Joel, and Buffer in short is a smarter way to tweet. It allows you to schedule updates much easier than some other tools you might know. I don't want to spend too much time talking about that, but let's not make it a sales pitch, but just get into some of the real quick social media tips that will be helpful for you. Yeah, it should be a real quick thing, just a couple of minutes, a few things I think are really important to help you get started, make the most of Twitter and social media. The first one of the four, we titled Reach Your Followers. So a couple of months back, we did some research. We looked at all the people that are using Buffer and analyzed over 1 million tweets. And we wanted to know which of the tweets that have been sent with our app did perform the best. And which tweets, when people would not use the app, how would they perform them? So what makes a tweet clickable? What makes a tweet retweetable? And one of the things we found that is really, really important to reach your followers is the timing of your tweets. So if you look here, this is Joel's following, for example, and it's broken up in where all the people live all around the world. So 25% of the people that follow Joel are in London, so in UK time zone. Then another 25% live in the US, and the other 30% are from all over the world, from India, from Europe, anywhere else. So for Joel to really reach all these people, it will be very, very difficult if you would just be living in London and tweeting in the London date time zone. So one of the things we found that the tweets or the updates which would perform the best from people was if they would really understand and match their followers' time zones with their tweets. So only if people would really try to match those things up, then their tweets would perform much better, on average up to 200% better than people who would neglect that and only tweet in their time zone. You can find that out very easily. This is an app called socialbro.com, and it will tell you where your followers live, and it will also even tell you there's a function called best times to tweet. You can also find that out, and it goes even further. It doesn't only show you that, but it analyzes when most of your followers will be online and when you should post. So the timing is the first thing that I believe is really, really important to understand. Where do your followers live, and which percentage, so you can say, well, a big chunk of my tweets should be in London time zone, and some should be in this time zone, but the largest chunk should be where the biggest percentage is. So once we kind of understand, okay, I need to look at my timing, the second point we kind of looked at for our research is to share frequently. So now you know the good timing, but now you need to also understand that if you don't post frequently and have this continual stream of great updates going out to your Twitter stream, to your Facebook stream, you're not making good use of the knowledge you've gained about the timing. The one thing I would like to compare that to is like a newspaper, right? So if you are a newspaper and you publish only once every 2 weeks, people don't really think that this is great content, right? Whereas if you're a newspaper and you publish every day, right, you build trust, you know, okay, another great story, every day it's coming out. And I think this is how you can compare a Twitter stream or a good Facebook stream as well. So if you understand that every day you need to provide those tweets, and for example, Jay is doing a really good job by that. I'm sure you'll all be following him. And every day he's tweeting in great frequency, a lot of great content, so that people will just know, no matter what that time of the day, Jay will be tweeting, he's putting that effort in, he's building that trust. And if you can build that trust and say, I want to share frequently every day, plus I'll have the good timing, you're already 2 steps ahead to everyone else. A couple of things about the frequency. So there's a guy called Dan Sarella. He's called a social media scientist. He's quite famous. You might have come across him. And he's done a lot of research in the frequency and how often you should share as well. And he found that if you the most frequent you should go up to is 1 tweet per hour, or 1, and on Facebook it's even less. So if you shouldn't cross that line of posting more than once per hour, because then your click-through rate will drop by up to 300% if you go beyond that. So whatever you do, make sure that you space your tweets out up to 1 hour next to each other, but at the same time, if you start out, try to make sure to post at least 5 to 10 great content tweets every day, because that will kind of make sure, okay, that's that person again. I know the day before and the day before that and the day before that, they've already posted great stuff. Today they'll be there again. I have no problem clicking that link. I have no problem retweeting that. I know they will provide great content because they've kind of, we've built that relationship of them being a great curator and me liking what they should. So the first 2 parts we looked at is the timing and the frequency. And I will hand over to Joel, who's going to read about 2 other points.
Thanks, Leo. Okay, cool. So what I want to just quickly talk about is this whole idea that by scheduling your tweets or your Facebook updates, you can actually become more social. So I think there's kind of a misconception out there that if you use some software, some app to help you to schedule these type of tweets or this content, then it turns you into a bot almost. That, it makes you less human. Everything's automated. I think there's this general idea out there, and there's also this idea that everything you're putting through an app like Buffer will be at times when you're not actually online. And I think these are 2 things that are kind of misconceptions out there. And so what we've actually found to be true is that if you use something like Buffer to set up your outgoing tweet schedule, and that part is out of the way, then that will actually allow you to be very focused on being social when you spend your time actually on Twitter. So by having, for example, a tweet every 2 hours, the whole day, and maybe the night as well, if you have all of that set up, or to 1 an hour, like Leo said, that's kind of the optimal frequency, then once that is set up, then when you come to Twitter, you can just be on Twitter. And what you'll find is that by having this great content going out, you will actually get people responding. Maybe they'll retweet, they'll share it again to their followers, or they'll mention you, they'll reply, and you can have a discussion with these people. And so actually by focusing on that when you're online and having the other part out of your mind, you can really grow your audience a lot further. So that's just 1 point that we found, is that it doesn't have to be that it's one or the other. It's not, you either use something to automate everything, or you're just on Twitter and do everything in real time. Actually, if you schedule this content, you can be better at being social and building up that following. One other point is that the type of content you schedule. So the idea of using something like Buffer to schedule, or Hootsuite scheduling features, isn't necessarily to pretend that you're online. It's not to schedule in advance that you're having dinner, or you're eating breakfast, and have that go out at the right time. It's more about collecting great content that's around the web, and this could often be other people's content as well, and finding that content and putting that out on a schedule. So a lot of times people have a routine, perhaps in the morning or in the evening, where you might read maybe Google Reader, or you'll just read through the news on select few websites that that have great content. And it's quite easy when you're on a website and you find a number of different articles, or you're going through your feeds in Google Reader and you find 5, 6, 7 articles at once that are all great. It's quite tempting and easy to share them all at once through Twitter and kind of flood people with 5 things at once. But instead, by adding them to your Buffer, or using this kind of scheduling, you can then contribute to having this stream of great content going out there. So the final kind of tip is that it's actually really useful to share other people's content. So if you're doing all these other 3 things well, then it can then be easy to kind of just share your own content. You want to have links back to your website or your brand or whatever you're trying to promote. But actually, by sharing other people's content, you can get a lot of benefits as well. So a couple of things with this is, firstly, it's really, really good to actually mention someone's username when you share somebody else's content, because that will let you kind of build a relationship with that person, and it makes them a lot more likely to then go ahead and share your content in return as well. So it's really good to kind of build up these relationships with other people that are on Twitter. And the final part is that by sharing other people's content, you can become known, kind of like what Leo's mentioned about this whole kind of relating it to a newspaper. You can become known as someone that has a great source of content, and it's generally good to pick a few key different areas, like maybe 3 different interests that you have, and kind of tweet fairly consistently about those 3 areas. And if you can become someone that's known for scouring the web and finding great content in these select areas, then your content, what you're sharing on Twitter, will be retweeted and shared, and you will generally find that you get a lot more followers. So, so those are the 4 kind of key tips. Shall we go back? Do you want to just go back through them? We'll just go back through them.